Hey everybody, it's Joel from the Board Game Mechanics. Today I'm taking a look at numbers 200 to 101. Well, not all of them, but some of them. If you want to check out numbers 100 to 1, the first place you're going to be able to see that or hear that is on our podcast. So check the link below for our podcast, or if you're seeing this on Facebook, then you know where to find that. So at any rate, that's for you to know. On this list, though, I've taken numbers 200 to 191 in this particular video, and I've ranked them. And these are all excellent games. So I have 365 games in my collection. That's where I keep it at. I bump something out now when I get something in, because I think having one game per day of the year, plenty. So these are all games that are worthy of being in my collection. They're all like at least a 6 or an 8 out of 10. I don't do odd numbers on my Board Game Geek rating because I think it's absurd to have that many ratings. I mean, like, I don't know. People do decimals, which I can't do that. So at any rate, a 6 is a game that I'm happy to own, and I will play it from time to time. An 8 is a game that, like, I would play it if you asked me to play it most any time. So a lot of these games are 6s, which are like games that I'm happy to own, and I really do enjoy playing them still. But like, I've got to be in a particular mood for them, or they've got some kind of like little reason why they aren't better than they are. And I'm going to try and explain that in this episode, why they're maybe a 6 instead of an 8, or where they're at. And I won't give an actual rating. The other thing too is it's going to have like a little arrow that drops down. That little dropping down arrow is going to tell you guys what's happening with this game. Is it rising? Is it lowering? Is this something that I see going higher next year or being off the list maybe? So that's it, guys. Here we go. Are we ready for this? I think so. I think we're ready. All right, let's do it. Number 200, Bonanza. This game was much higher at one point, so there's your spoiler on the arrow. It's going to be dropping. I used to play this game with kids a lot, like students, and I still play it some with students, but I just don't have opportunities to play it. Like, school curriculum doesn't allow for games that much. I mean, you have to be pretty focused on doing the curriculum, and there's not a lot of opportunities to play games. Kids, but this is a cool game because it teaches kids how to like communicate with each other. It teaches about bartering, and there's some really wacky, crazy trades that happen in here because you're forced to do things that you don't want to do in this game based on like having to place cards in your set of cards in front of you and maybe destroying a much better set if you can't find a place to get it. There's times where you'll trade one really crappy card to somebody in order as a favor for them. Like, and like basically you have to say, you know what, like I'll take a card from you in the or something like that. But there's the most unbalanced, weird trades in this game ever. This is an Uwe Rosenberg game, which is bizarre. Like this is, I think, I mean, like the joke is he had to have made this when he was like 14, right? Because just crazy looking. The art's weird in it. It's an old game though. It's a really old game. So you can see what board games were like 20 years ago by playing this game. So decent game, still in print. Any game that's stuck around for 20 years and still been in print has got to be pretty good, right? So number 200 is Bonanza. Moving on. Rise to Nobility. Now this game is pretty good. It's a dice placement game. It's just the thing about this one, why it's a 6 and why it's down as low as it is I don't feel like this one does really much that other dice placement games don't do already. I feel like the feelings it gives me aren't as good as the feelings that other dice placement games give me when I play them. And I just think it adds little extra things into the game that aren't necessary. They're just trying to make themselves like unique or distinguished from other games, it feels like maybe. So I don't know. It's not bad. It's certainly a good game. It's in my collection still. Kickstarter Deluxe Edition even. So I think it's a good game. It's just that little tacked on corner where you can just buy points basically. It's kind of weird to me. But the really cool part in this game though, really to be honest about it, is that part where it's like you can power up things and get 3 levels of really cool stuff that's cumulative. So it's a dice placement game. It's okay. I think it was in my top 100 last year, but I've just not played it much because if I want to play a dice placement game, there's a bunch of other games I'd rather play. Also, the dice in this game, if I'm remembering right, are like really ornamental and like have like fancy stuff all over them. And this one and one other game, Euphoria, I just wish they would put typical dice in the game. So this one though, Rise to Nobility, dropping. Custom Heroes. This one's interesting. This is a card crafting game. I had huge expectations for this game. I wanted this game to be like amazing, and it's pretty good. I liked Mystic Vale, and I thought, oh, the theme on this is not even a theme. It's just us abstractly doing this thing. So when I saw there was a game coming out that had some craziness to it of theme where we're fighting and powering up, putting sock puppets on people's hands and just crazy stuff like that, I thought, oh, this is going to be amazing. And then like the gameplay, it's basically a trick taking kind of game, or like card shedding game. And so like there's no combat in this game really. It's like really a game. The theme doesn't match the game really at all. I mean, but it's cool. So I was like kind of like, geez, I wish this game had more to it. Then Edge of Darkness came out and there was more to it, but like the theme's not as fun. But the theme's amazing in Edge of Darkness, don't get me wrong. And that one's not going to be in this set of videos. Just a little spoiler for you. It's going to be. So at any rate, this game is very good and I'm liking it more all the time. Because of that, it's on the rise. This one could be going higher because I'm able to say this game is what it is. It's like a little, basically just like a trick-taking game. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with just this being a simple card-shedding game with a twist. So now that I've made I've gone through the grief cycle and I've accepted that this is just a little twist on a standard trick-taking, card-shedding kind of game, I'm pretty cool with this game now. So it's on the rise a little bit, and that's that. Incan Gold, I call this one Incan Gold. That's what I grew up with. That's the name that this game has. For me, in my heart, that's what I played when I was a kid. In my 20s, late 20s and early 30s when I was a kid, 8 years ago. So at any rate, this game, I grew up with the name Incan Gold. It's called Diamante now, I think, or something like that. It's a push your luck game. You're going to basically decide if you're going to travel deeper into this temple and try and get more treasures, or you're going to go deeper in this temple and encounter enough danger that you're not going to be able to survive being in that tunnel. And unfortunately, you won't make it out and you won't get any treasure. So you're just trying to get basically treasures by saying, I think I'm going to call it quits now, or pushing your luck and keeping on going. So really at the heart of this game, you want to stay one extra turn beyond everyone else, but then get out so you get all this good stuff that would come out with you. So, because if you leave early, you don't get all the stuff, you get some of the stuff. So at any rate, it's just who gets the most stuff by sticking around and being the riskiest person. It's an interesting game, definitely an interesting concept. And this one's dropping a little bit because there's another push your luck game that I enjoy more. Figure that one out. It'll be in the top 100 for sure. La Isla. This game is by Stefan Feld, and you never would guess it. It's just a really light, interesting little game, and you wouldn't expect it to be a Feld game. So the fact that this is a Feld game is kind of cool. It's different. It's like not quite campy, but it's like lighthearted. So that's something that you don't usually say about Feld games. But it's like almost a filler category game. So this one doesn't get played as much as the other games do, just based on the fact that it is kind of a filler game. So it's a good game for sure, but I don't think to grab it when I go to pick a filler game off the shelf because it's a little long for a filler. But it's not like a hearty big Feld. So it's just kind of an interesting niche game. Because of that, it's really good, but I don't think it's like gonna change much. It's interesting. It's for sure interesting. And I really respect that it's a Feld. So I think it's solid. I think it's worth hanging on to, but it's nothing that I'm gonna be like advocating as a top 10 game or something, you know. If you like this game a lot, I do too. And I put it at 196 and it's staying steady at 190. Paperback, this is one that I was on kind of a deck building kick at one point in my life, but also my wife likes word games, so I thought, hey, this is a word game that's a deck builder. Maybe my wife and I will enjoy this one. Play together. I do that for a lot of games. This one went over okay. I think there's just other games that my wife and I would rather play together now. It's a cool concept, and if I had to pick a word game to play where I'm spelling out words, this is the one I'm picking. Like, this is probably my favorite Scrabbly word creation type game there is out there. Much better than like Quiddler or Scrabble to me. So I like this game a lot. It's a 6, but because basically it just doesn't have a group to play with me. If I'm going to play a game that is a deck builder, there's other ones out there, and I don't particularly care for word games. So this one doesn't have as much table presence as other games have. It's not out there as often, just based on the fact it's a kind of odd combination of stuff that I don't particularly care for the one part of the odd combination. So that isn't the design or anything like that that's at fault. It's just my personal preference thing. Puts it at 195. This one's dropped quite a bit, actually, because I think it's top 100 last year. Fox in the Forest. This is an interesting one to talk about, too, because it's a 2-player trick-taking game. So I think it's cool. It's got a neat thing going on with it. The cards are just enough different that you can't use a standard deck of cards, so you have to buy their game. But it's worth owning. It's worth having around, especially if you're super into trick-taking games and you want to play with a group of 2. It's just interesting. There's just other two-player games I'd rather play. I bought this one more for the idea of it being a two-player game than for it being a trick-taking game. And so because there's other two-player games like Shot and Dotten or other things like that that I would just rather play if I'm playing with two, just kind of a light, simple game like this, it doesn't stay too high. It's a perfectly good game, and I think it's going to stay around here. But it dropped a lot. I think this was in the top 100 last year as well. I just don't have opportunities to play it. It doesn't get played as much as it should, or as much as I thought it might. So it's dropped quite a bit, down to 194. Still a really good game. Great little trick-taking game. Pretty light, pretty quick. Really fun evening game for you and a spouse or you and a kid or something like that. Just a good two-player game. As good a two-player trick-taking game I think as you're going to find. So, Fox in the Forest, 194. Dropped. 193, Big Book of Madness. This game is heavier and bigger than I thought it would be based on the art and the fact that it's a yellow game. So I thought this was going to be like a little silly Wizards kind of Harry Potter almost thing or something when I bought it. And it's good, but it's not what I thought it was going to be. And it's kind of weird because it's like, if I'm going to play a game that has this much like stuff in it and kind of like trying to get people to think, I'm going to play other games that I like more than it, and it's not a gateway game. I mean, it looks like a gateway game. You think it's a gateway game, a non-gamers game, but it's not. It's really something that's like a next steps game. And so the packaging on it of like being presented as like a Sword in the Stone type game or like a Harry Potter universe type thing isn't quite right for what the gameplay really is. The gameplay is like actually quite a bit heavier than you think based on the box cover. So a good game for sure, and I'm not going to hold it against it that it's a heavy game. It's a good game. It's in the top 200. It's a good game, okay? But it's not one that I find myself wanting to get off the shelf as much as I'd like. So to put it in the top 150 even. So it's a rock solid game, but if you love this game, I respect that. It's just not for me. And this one sits on the shelf a lot more than it would if it's a higher game, and I don't think I would actually. So that's making it drop a ton. 192. Oh boy, I'll probably get heat on this one. Castles of Mad King Ludwig, especially when I put some other games higher than it that are like pretty objectively better games. This one I've just played a lot. It's kind of a little chaotic at times. Not chaotic, but it's just like you build this ugly thing, and it's hard to min-max it. I don't know if min-max is even the word I'm looking for. But it's just, you build this bizarre place. And building the palace is a lot of fun. But, I don't know. It never really resonated with me. And I think I've finally made my peace with that. I like the clean design of Suburbia better, to be honest. So, Castles of Mad King Ludwig, it's got that cool, like, auctioneer kind of thing where you, like, place the tiles where you want them to be at. And that's a really interesting take on this as well. Player interaction in this one's a lot lower than it is on Suburbia, for example. And if I want to build a wacky castle, there's another game that I like that acts better with other people. So, I don't know. I like this game quite a bit, but I've played it a lot over the last few years, and it hasn't really had a chance to get off the shelf. I think if I played it more, I might like it more. But just there's other games that I would rather play that involve building things, tile laying. So, a really good game, and I endorse it for most people to play and try it. And if you love it, man, I loved it for a long time too. I still do like it a lot. So, Castles of Mad King Ludwig is number 192. So for this last 10, we're gonna look at Kokoro. Kokoro is one that was one of the first like kind of flippin' rights that I've ever played. It was really cool. It came with these dry erase markers. I like that a lot. It has just some really interesting things going on with it. But that said, there's better rolling rights, flipping rights that have come out since. So that's kind of harmed this game. I like it a fair amount. I think I wish I had the original like Avenue version of it. I think it's called Avenue. Because the little like jungly fantasy world thing kind of disconnects me. If I felt like I was building a little town, I might enjoy it more. But I will say this, Kokoro 191, it's on this list. And a lot of really popular rolling rights and flipping rights aren't. Including some that came out this year that people went gaga for, and like I'm already seeing on clearance. So this one's got a little more staying power than those, I think. Anyway, Kokoro, the Avenue of the Kodama is what it says. I can't read my monitor this far away. So anyway, I'm hoping all the audio and everything turned out okay on this. This was kind of like a proof of concept video that I wanted to see if I could do like live video stuff and make it look okay. And so this is numbers 200 to 191. I think I'm going to try and release one of these about every week. We'll see. Might do some of them live even. So if you follow us on Facebook, you'll get notification that these are going live, and then I'll put the upload up later, like the actual thing. Look for our top 100 coming out in about mid-October. I will be starting to do that, so find the podcast down below. And thanks for watching. Tell me I'm wrong. I mean, tell me these are top 10 games or something. I don't know. I like interacting with people. Like, I really do. I just like interacting with people. Like, this whole content creator thing has been a great way for me to meet people and make friends. And that's my favorite part of it. Absolutely. So leave a comment. If you haven't subbed or given us a thumb, think about it maybe. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching. I've been Joel with Board Game Mechanics and gaming.